Okay, this is going to be vinyl haul number 7. First, I want to thank MegaJeff, his hard rock vinyl video. He gave me a shout out on his channel and recommended people to check out my my videos. So this is the first video after that. So I have like doubled my subscribers from more than doubled, from 5 to 15. So that's kind of cool. I hope you guys like these videos. I'm going to do a playlist for Spotify on this vinyl haul, and this is from, I think this is June 2017. So there's about 30 or so records here that I bought in June of 2017. And I'm going to try to do some other videos that are different than the ones I've been doing, but I had already started setting this one up and listening to these records and kind of getting my thoughts together on them. So I'm just going to do this one as my next video. But I want to thank Jeff for recommending people to check out my channel, or at least check out my collection anyway. So the first record I'm going to show is from August of 1969. It was released, and it is the greatest hits album from the Mamas and the Papas. I'm just going to go in order of oldest to newest, just so you know the order that these records are in. This record is really good. Obviously, Mama and Papas are a really good 60s and early 70s group, kind of like in a Beach Boys type pop record. Very melodic. The main reason why I like the Mama and Papas, though, California Dreamin' obviously is a great song, but there's a movie called Chungking Express that was directed by Wong Kar-wai, and he made a movie where it's like, the movie has like 2 stories in it, and the second story is the longer story, but it revolves around the song California Dreamin', and that song gets played probably like maybe 30 times, and it actually doesn't get boring at all. It's just really, really good. Faye Wong is in that movie as well, and she's kind of like a pop artist from China. It's a movie that came out. Quentin Tarantino put that movie out under his Rolling Thunder. He released it in the U.S. under his Rolling Thunder, production company or whatever. It's a fantastic movie. It's a little, kind of a little bit of love stories. But the California Dreamin' one is really, really good. And that song is just, gets ingrained in your memory. This is on the Dunhill ABC press. This is a little bit newer of a press, or I think this press came out in 72, but according to Discogs, but I have, I just bought it because of that. And it has some other good songs on here. Obviously, Monday, dedicated to the one I love. Just some really good stuff on here from the Mamas and Papas. I really only needed greatest hits from them, honestly. I don't even know if they have. I'd have to check and see if they have like a full-length record, with like a proper record. But I know that they just released a lot of singles back then. But anyway, the A Greatest Hits is a good album to have from them, and check out that movie because it's a really, really good movie. All right, the next record came out February 19th, 1971. It's the 3rd studio album from Yes, and it's the first one with Steve Howe on guitar. And one cool thing about this record is the cover of this record. These guys got into like a car accident like not too long before they had to take this picture. And if you look here, you can see one of the guys has a cast on his foot that made it onto the album cover. I always thought that was funny. But yeah, this is a good record. This is a good prog rock 1971 record. Has a gatefold, and this is a really good classic Yes record. Got it on Atlantic. It has Starship Trooper on there. I think one of the parts on there was a single. Obviously, I've seen All Good People, the Your Move section. I think all you good people too like that whole part in there. Yeah, and this is really good. Yeah, I thought it was just really cool that, you know, this guy is in a cast and they put it on the record. But yeah, this is a really good Yes record. Progressive rock, of course. And I think if you're going to get into Yes, this is a pretty good Start Here record. Yeah, check out Yes. All right, the next record I got here is came out March 3rd, 1972. It's the 5th studio album from Jethro Tull, Thick as a Brick. I don't pull this out very often, but I did pull it out recently, and I kind of like it more. The more it's a growing record, you know, it kind of grows on you after a while. If you like progressive rock, of course, you know, like if you're not into 70s progressive rock, you know, this is not going to be anything that you're going to be interested in. But, you know, this record is really unique. It has a really cool, not even a gate, it has a gatefold, but it's in the, it's kind of presented as like a newspaper. You know, so it even has pages and everything. And the song lyrics are in here. It's allegedly based on a poem from a character they made up called what's his name, Gerald Bostock. And yeah, it's allegedly about his life, you know, and stuff like that with his family and his dad. But really, you know, from the wiki and everything, they talk about how, you know, it was kind of like a parody of all the progressive rock, you know, concept records that were coming out. Like, I guess there was a lot of them around this time in the early 70s. So, you know, it's a good record, though. It has a lot of good melodies in there. You know, there's some good song parts. You really won't have to like flute. Obviously, Jethro Tull is very known for his flute playing, but yeah, there's a lot of fucking flute on this record. So, but it is pretty good. You know, you definitely have to like or want to like progressive rock from the 70s. It's in that vein. It's you know, not unique amongst those, you know, that time period in those records. There was just a ton of them, and it's good. It's a good record, I would say. I pull it out every once in a while. I don't listen to it a lot, but there's a couple good sections on here that are really, really good. All right, the next record is another progressive rock. This one came out September 20th, 1974, so moving ahead just a couple years. This is Gentle Giant, The Power and the Glory. This record is kind of unique. September 20th, 74. It's kind of unique. It has this die cut, like a card, like a playing card. It's really cool. It's kind of cool for that. And I have it on the Capitol. Again, another very much, you know, Gentle Giant is not for the uninitiated for prog rock, because these guys go all over the place. I mean, you know, it's just, it's an interesting listen, but if you don't like progressive rock, you're definitely not gonna like this record, of course. But it's one of the, you know, I think Yes, you know, band like Yes, you know, they have a lot of songs that you can get into, even though they have progressive elements in them, with time changes, you know, a lot of noodling on instruments, but they have at least a few songs on each album that are melodic and memorable. These guys, you know, I pull this out and listen to it every once in a while, just if I want to have almost something on in the background. But it's a pretty good record. It's pretty typical for Gentle Giant. I don't think it's anything good or bad. It just is what it is. But definitely not only for hardcore progressive rock fans only. Next one came out February 17th, 1976. It's the fifth release. Technically, it's the 5th release of the Eagles, but it's their greatest hits. Greatest Hits Volume 1, actually, because there is a Volume 2. I do like the Eagles, mostly their hits. I'm looking for Volume 2, and that's probably all I'll need from the Eagles, honestly. They're not high on my list of records to get. You know, their hits are good. I enjoy them. I really like the documentary. You know, the documentary on their stuff is really, really good. And then Fred Armisen and the other guy they did a parody documentary on the Eagles. That was pretty freaking hilarious. If you check that out, I think it's called, their series I think is called Documentary Now. I think all the episodes are on Netflix, but they do a parody of the Eagles documentary, and it's really, really funny. And you don't have to sit through like the 4 or 5 hour version. It's like 30 minutes or 40 minutes or something like that. And it's really funny. But this is a good record. You know, obviously if you like the Eagles, you know, of course the dude doesn't like the Eagles, but I'm okay with their singles and stuff like that. You know, has that Southern California sound from back in that time in the early 70s. You know, the guys played with Linda Ronstadt, stuff like that. All right, the next record I bought in June came out March 15th, 1976. It's the 4th studio album by Kiss, Destroyer. My copy isn't in great shape, you know, but I don't care about that much. The album sounds good. I only have the inner sleeve. I don't have any of the extras. I don't even know what extras were in here. But I don't go for the Kiss records for all that extras. You know, I'm not a big enough fan to where I need to have, you know, all the cutouts and the die cutouts and stuff like that. But I just need a Kiss record with the inner sleeve. That's really all I care about. This record is really good, though. It has Detroit Rock City on it. King of Nighttime World's great. God of Thunder. Shout It Out Loud. Beth. Bob Ezrin produced this record. He's famous for producing records for Alice Cooper and stuff like that, and a lot of other artists. But yeah, he kind of, this album is, you know, kind of, a lot of Kiss fans are mixed on it. You know, some people really like it and some are just okay with it and some hate it, you know, so it's not a consistently well-loved record. I guess they changed their sound a bit. I think it's fine. I'm not a big enough Kiss fan to where, I mean, I have my favorites and stuff like that, but this album is, I think, as good as any other Kiss record, kind of, you know, just in my opinion. You know, there are levels of goodness of Kiss. You know, some albums might be better than others. Creatures, just so you have a baseline, Creatures of the Night is probably my favorite Kiss record, even though it's kind of like their most glam metal record. You know, it came out I think in the early 80s, but I love that record. I think that record is really good. It has a lot of good songs on it. This record does too. Obviously, I'm from Detroit, so Detroit Rock City is always cool. You know, they play that on the radio all the time. I've heard that song a bunch of times on FM radio. Like I said, I'm kind of a kid of the FM radio days. You know, the classic rock channels were really big in Detroit. They did 2 channels. They had WRAF and WLLZ at the time when I was growing up. So I heard just Led Zeppelin, Kiss, Rush, you know, all that early 70s, or really just 70s in general, and early 80s classic rock stuff. Just constantly just grew up on that stuff. So they would always play Kiss on the radio, especially Detroit Rock City. Good record from Kiss. Next 2 records actually. This one came out October 11th, 1976. It's the 4th studio album from ABBA. Now, I love ABBA. I think ABBA is great. You just can't deny the popularity of this band, like the melodies. You know, this is like pure pop music in a way. It's just pure harmonies, like the 4 singers. You know, you got male and female vocals on these albums. And this album just blew up. I mean, this is what really shot them into the stratosphere. You know, it has Dancing Queen on it, but I pretty much like every song on here. When I Kissed a Teacher is really good. Knowing Me, Knowing You, of course. Money, Money, Money is good. My favorite song on here actually is Tiger. I really, really like that song. I'm kind of a sucker for dancing on stage, where they dance in synchronicity, and they do, a little tiger thing when they do that. I think that's hilarious. But I also do like the song. It's kind of one of the more their hard rock, not really hard rock, but one of the more rockin' songs that they have on here. But yeah, I mean, ABBA just they just obliterated the charts on this record. I mean, it sold so many albums. There is no, not on this record. Yeah, I don't know if I have anything else to say about this one. Yeah, just a fantastic album. I do like pop music, and you can't deny ABBA. I mean, so many people, even metalheads, of course, even Foo Fighters, like they did they did a Bee Gees record, which is, I would say Bee Gees, during this time period is similar to ABBA. I mean, I would guess that they would do an ABBA record, those guys. But, even Mikael Åkerfeldt from Opeth, says ABBA's great. There's a ton of, it's almost undeniable. And Sweden, especially right now, I'm into a lot of heavy metal, mostly, especially new stuff. Sweden is just ridiculous with the amount of bands that are coming out of there right now, like Ghost and, bands that are just insanely popular and doing really, really good music. Horisont is one of my favorite bands of all time coming out of there. Sweden is just amazing. There is a documentary on Netflix called This Is Pop, and they talk to ABBA. They talk about the Swedish influence on just music in the world, and it's undeniable. They talk about pop music mostly in that, but even in metal, if they could do the exact same episode about metal, I think. So the next record came out a couple years later, December 12th, 1977, the fifth studio album from ABBA. And the reason it's interesting, because I think in the US this came out December 12th. It came out before Christmas, but I think in the UK they couldn't press enough records to get it out before Christmas, so it came out in January, I think. And another great record, and just to prove that metal, is influential, ABBA is influential on metal, Ghost did a cover of I'm a Marionette from ABBA, and they did a really good job. It's obviously the metal version, and you would never know it was an ABBA song unless you already knew it was an ABBA song. You might think it was just a rock song or something that they covered, but yeah, they did I'm a Marionette. And it's a creepy song, it's kind of like when they do it, and even on here, it's a little weird. But still another good record from ABBA. Take a Chance on Me is on here, The Name of the Game, and Thank You for the Music, and I'm a Marionette is a really good song. It wasn't like a hit single, but, bands just, I just think it's undeniable how influential ABBA is just on music in general, not just, pop music, which, of course is, but even on heavy metal and stuff, it's just undeniable. You hear an ABBA song and you just start singing along, I mean, it's almost impossible not to. It really is, at least for me. All right, this next one came out September 23rd, 1978. It's the third studio album from Blondie. This is Parallel Lines. This is a great record. This record has the hits, like The Heart of Glass on it, Hanging on a Telephone, which was a cover song from like a power pop band, right? I can't remember the band that did it, but yeah, it wasn't. The Nerves. Yeah, it was a cover from a power pop band called The Nerves, which The Nerves are. I'm still looking for that. There's a record of The Nerves that has like a compilation. I got that in my wish list. But yeah, it says One Way or Another, Picture This, Heart of Glass, really good record, produced by Mike Chapman, who produced a lot of stuff in the 80s. He did a lot of Pat Benatar and a bunch of other bands. This was out on Chrysalis. Not much to say about this album. I mean, from what I read, just kind of researching the record, Mike Chapman said that when he got these guys in the studio, like they're not very good musicians yet. They weren't like up to par. So he really put them through the paces, to try to get them, to record the album, really good. But anyway, this is a good record from Blondie. Next record is Genesis record. This is Duke. This record is okay. This is a record I got. This is their 10th studio album. Came out March 29th, 1980. Yeah, the Blondie record came out September 23rd, 78. So this is now we're getting into the 80s. March 29th, 1980. 10th studio album from Genesis, Duke. Has a couple good songs on here. It's a good record. I kind of like it a little more than I listened to it recently than I did at first. I got this for 50 cents at the thrift store. So it was kind of a no-brainer to get. But the two songs that you'll know on here is Misunderstanding and Turn It On Again. Those are the hits on here. It's a decent record. It's Genesis's kind of a mix of their, when they start to go pop, but they still have a lot of progressive elements on here. So this is kind of an in-between record, so, when Invisible Touch, those were all just pop, songs. I'm pretty sure it's almost all pop songs. But this record, they were still doing a lot of progressive stuff on here, and it's not bad. It's good. It's just not great. Next record came out October 17th, 1980, so same year. It is the, which studio album is this? 10th studio album? No, 5th studio album, October 17th, 1980. 5th studio album from Bruce Springsteen. This is The River. It's funny because this is one of those records that haunts me. I don't know if you ever had that experience where, you go to, you see a record at the store, right? And you're not sure whether you want to buy it or not. And then you leave it behind because you're just like, I'm just going to leave it behind. I'll see it again. As soon as you leave the record store, you're just like, fuck, I should have bought that record. God damn, I should have bought that record. And then you think about it again. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go back, tomorrow or a couple days from now and just go get it. And it's gone. So that happened to me with this record. I was him-hawing on it. I wasn't listening to a lot of Bruce Springsteen yet. And I really wasn't sure if I wanted to start collecting, a bunch of Bruce Springsteen records. But I started streaming this record after I passed on it at the store, and I really was like, dang, this record is really good. And it is really good. It tells a story, it has that Bruce Springsteen feel, blue collar feel, and just the songs are great. So I ended up, it was like, I think months later, at first, it's funny because, you see that, right? And then then you start looking for the record and you can't find it. But then after you buy it, you're like, oh shit, finally I got it. Then you start seeing it everywhere. It's like, stores have 2 or 3 of them. So that's kind of what happened to me with this record. But yeah, don't pass on this if you see it at the store. Don't be like I did. It's a really good record. It ended up being like the #1 album of this year. It won a Grammy, and it's really good. I don't know if it's his breakout record, but it's definitely... it definitely wasn't his breakout record, but it was, there's a ton of music on here. And I think he wrote like 50 songs for this record, and just ended up using, like the 20 or so that are on here. So it's all good stuff. Bruce Springsteen, The River. Don't pass it up like I did. All right. Next record is another greatest hits. Came out November 29th, 1982. And this is Foreigner Records. Actually mine came with a 45. I don't know. I think somebody just left it in there. So yeah, this record has a neat little thing where, it has the jukebox on the sleeve, with the song titles. Every song on here is a hit. Cold Ice, Double Vision, Head Games, Waiting for a Girl Like You, Feels Like First Time, Urgent, Dirty White Boy, Jukebox Hero, Long Long Way From Home, and Hot Blooded. Really good record. If you're contemplating getting a Foreigner record, you haven't heard them before. I don't know. I can't imagine that nobody here watching my channel or watching this video hasn't heard of Foreigner. But yeah, I have a few of their records, their full lengths, but Greatest hits is a good way to go. This is a good album. All right, next record is, this one's not as good. We're going from really good to okay. This is the, which studio album is this? This is the first studio album. Came out May 23rd, 1984, and it's from the Bangles. It's all over the place. This record's okay. You can tell Bangles are starting, their thing, their sound, they're finding it. They're writing okay songs on here. The song Hero Takes a Fall is really good. I think it was one of the singles. And Leonard Nimoy, I think, was in one of their videos for one of these songs. I think it was the Going Down to Liverpool song. I think I read that. I thought that was hilarious. It's on the Columbia label. This is the kind of stuff that I was just finding. I got this at a record store or a record show. It's an okay record. If you like power pop, and you want more of the Bangles, but you just like their sound. There's just not a lot of hits on here. They're still working it out, but it's pretty good. It's a good record. It's just not great. Not as good as Different Light. Different Light is definitely a really good record. I like that record a lot. Even the non-single hits on Different Light were really good. All right, now this is a classic album. This album came out August 1984. It's the 5th studio album from Hanoi Rocks. Two Steps from the Move, the 11th Street Kids. If you watch Peacemaker, you'll know that reference. But yeah, Hanoi Rocks, one of the greatest glam metal or glam rock bands. Influenced Guns N' Roses, influenced pretty much, almost any band from the early 80s, that did glam metal or hair metal, owes a debt to these guys for keeping it alive, in a way. These guys were late 70s, early 80s, just really keeping that sound, that New York Dolls sound, and, fashion and, everything, look, alive and just keeping it going. These guys never thought glam rock had ended. They were like, it's still going. We're going to keep doing it. This album is awesome. The unfortunate thing about this album is obviously Razzle was on the cover of this album, but I don't think he played on it or played very little on this record. In my understanding, I think that's accurate. But yeah, he ended up getting killed in a car accident with Vince Neil. Obviously, Vince Neil survived, but Razzle didn't. And yeah, it's a great album. There's so many good songs on here. Up Around the Bend, even though it's a cover song, they make it their own. It's really good, I think. High School is great. Underwater World, Don't You Ever Leave Me is awesome. Million Miles Away is great. Boulevard of Broken Dreams is great. One of the songs on here, which one was it? I think it was, I want to say it's Underwater World. Let me look at the lyrics real quick. I think it's Underwater World, where it's one of these songs. I can't remember. I think it's Underwater World, where Axl Rose kind of nicked the Welcome to the Jungle lyric out of one of the songs on this record, and inspired him and the band to write Welcome to the Jungle, obviously. And he was a big fan of Michael Monroe, and they did a bunch of stuff together. The Michael Monroe solo record, I think Axl helped him get that artist to help write songs for that and stuff. So when this band unfortunately kind of packed it up and ended their band at this point because of Razzle getting killed, and it just kind of devastated them. Michael Monroe was kind of one of the only guys to really have a kind of successful solo career after this. But this is a fantastic album. If you can find this, pick this up, especially if you're into glam metal, or not even glam metal, but glam rock, like New York Dolls type stuff. This is fantastic. Next record is from July 1st, 1985. Another greatest hits. I was just finding a lot of greatest hits one night. This is Billy Joel's Greatest Hits, Volume 1 and 2. This record annoys me. There's like the last song on side 2 or on side 4 has like a really bad popping in it, like a scratch. And it's a quieter song, I think. I can't remember. I haven't played it in a while, but this is a good record. You know, Billy Joel. For me, I don't need anything more than this entire record, honestly. This is all the Billy Joel I need personally. But it is a good record, and these songs are great. Allentown is really good. I put that on the playlist. I really like that song. Piano Man, of course. Just the Way You Are. Big Shot. It has the song. I can't remember which one it was, but it has the song from the Bosom Buddies TV show. Good album if you like Billy Joel, or even if you don't like Billy Joel but you like some of the hits. That's the record to get. That record's always expensive too for some reason. I don't know why. This is next record came out August 13th, 1985. This is the first metal record. I didn't buy a lot of metal in June. This is Dio, Sacred Heart. This is the third studio album. Came out August 13th, 1985. Yeah, this is the last record with Vivian Campbell on guitar. This is a good record. Obviously, Dio is, fantastic. Great singer. Not much really to say about Dio, except that he's really great. King of Rock and Roll is on here. Sacred Heart. Rock and Roll Children is on here. Hungry for Heaven. A lot of good hits on here. This album cover is really cool with the dragon and, looking into the crystal ball. Great Dio record. Very consistent Dio. This was, after, I think this is before he went back to Sabbath for Dehumanizer, I think. But yeah, this is, obviously this is after he left Rainbow, of course. He's on his own. He's doing his own thing now. I think he finally found his groove, so to say. And I don't think there's a Dio record that I really don't like. The Machines one might be the worst record. Maybe not worst, but my least favorite. But there's still some good songs on there and good parts. Dio. All right, we're going back into some pop music. February 4th, 1986, the first studio album from Janet Jackson, Control. This is her first, it's technically not her first solo album. She had a record under her, that her dad, started her with and, helped her produce and stuff like that, using the Jackson formula. This is Janet on her own. She got away from that, and she's like, I want to be on my own. This album is fantastic. It is so fucking good. Control, Nasty, What Have You Done For Me Lately, Pleasure Principle, even Let's Wait a While. The ballad on here is really good. I like this album a lot. What's cool about this record for me was, I have a couple records like this, but when I got the record, I ordered it through Discogs, and when I got the record, inside the inner sleeve, or the outer sleeve and inner sleeve, was somebody had put the 45 for When I Think of You. 45 isn't in here, but they had that in there. And they also had a little article from a Teeny Bopper magazine with Janet and her When I Think of You lyrics. Yeah, I like when you find stuff like this in albums. I have another record where, there's a couple articles, that people have cut out of magazines and put in their records. So that's always fun. I have a Twisted Sister record where it has tickets from a concert in the UK, which is, from the You Can't Stop Rock and Roll, record. So that's pretty cool. But anyway, back to Janet. Janet is great. This is a cutout too. I love saving cutouts. I feel like I'm saving the record. I'm giving it a good home. It doesn't have to worry about being in the cutout bin anymore. Somebody bought this for probably like $3. they probably bought it after, it hit, or they were just late, to getting into Janet. But yeah, fantastic record. I do like pop music. I can't deny it. Especially the 80s pop music. I really like 80s pop music a lot. Now, this record came out March 24th, 1986. It is the 7th studio album from Van Halen, or Van Hagar in this case. This is one of the worst album covers, in my opinion. I hate it. I think it's just silly. I don't get it either. I wish that this was the album cover. This is 100 times better. Just throw 5150 under there and you're done. Great album cover here. I used to sleeve this like that, so I didn't have to look at that dumb album cover. But I do like Van Halen 5150. I like Van Hagar. I really do. The main reason for me is that back in the 80s, or when this came out, we had, there were video stores back then. I don't know if anybody young is watching this, but, there's video stores, and I used to rent VHS videotapes, and I rented Van Halen Live Without a Net. And I watched that video so many times for the weekend that I had it, and I really liked the band and those songs, and that kind of really got me even more into Van Hagar, kind of just from that experience of watching that video and that concert. They just seemed to be having so much fun, and the songs were good. They're playing old stuff, new stuff. They were playing Sammy Hagar stuff. It was really cool. The band was really at their maybe not their, I don't know, this might have been their peak. I didn't look up like how many this sold. This might be the best-selling Van Halen record. I'm not sure. But it is a good record. I like it. It's definitely more poppy, pop rocky. It has a lot of keyboards in it. Since Jump, they kind of started integrating that more into the band. But it still has that really loose and tight style that Eddie has. I guess loose, precise. It just feels like he's just, all over the, fretboard, all over the strings. But it all makes sense and it all sounds perfect. Yeah, R.I.P. Eddie. But I think this is a good record. Obviously, the hits on here, Best of Both Worlds. What else is on here? Love Walks In. Good Enough is good. Why Can't This Be Love? Dreams, and Summer Nights. Summer Nights is a great song to play when you're cruising. Cruising the roads. All right, and the opposite of that, not the opposite, but the same year. Was it the same year? Yeah. But a couple months later, the first solo studio album came out from David Lee Roth, Eat 'Em and Smile. I definitely listened to 5150 more than this record, but this is a good record. It does have a Van Halen feel to it. Steve Vai, of course, him and Eddie are peers. So I think Eddie writes better songs, obviously, I think, as far as, hits go or whatever. But Steve Vai is just a really, really good guitar player. And he obviously shows in this record how great he is. And David Lee Roth got super lucky, man, that he was able to do that, because I think this record, if he hadn't gotten a guy like that, I don't know what he would have done. I don't think this would have been obviously as good. But yeah, there's some good songs on here. This has different center labels on each side, which is pretty cool. Yeah, this is a good record, Eat 'Em and Smile. I think there's a version of this record that's sung all in Spanish as well. But Yankee Rose is on here, Going Crazy, Tobacco Road, That's Life. This is a good album, David Lee Roth. It's very Van Halen-esque. Yeah. All right, Jody Watley, February 23rd, 1987, still in the mid-80s here. Jody Watley, Ex Shalimar, I think. Another 80s pop record. This record, I think she won like Best New Artist. This album won a Grammy. It sold million copies. It's a really good pop record from the 80s. It has Looking for a New Love, Some Kind of Lover on here as well. I think those are the two main hits. Yeah. And yeah, she won a Grammy for this record as well in 1988. Really good pop record from the 80s. Has that pop sound, Madonna, Janet Jackson. Has hits on here, Prince. It fits all in with that stuff. So if you like any of those bands, this album is something that you should pick up. This one comes out on the MCA label with the rainbow. All right. Good record. All right, this is another rock record. This one came out April 27th, 1987. All my videos go long. They go so fucking long. I don't care. Ace Frehley, Frehley's Comet, came out April 27th, 1987. This is his first solo record. And this has really cool song here. Rock Soldiers on here is really good. Into the Night is a great song. If you like Kiss, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't like this record. I mean, it's really has a Kiss feel to it. Ace Frehley didn't really go too far away from that core Kiss sound. Just really simple hard rock riffs. Lyrics about being, in rock and roll and, getting the ladies. So it was pretty simple formula for Ace to replicate on his own. And yeah, he did a good job on this first record. It's a decent album. It has, what did I wrote on here about this? This was one of his most successful records. One interesting thing is that I found out that in order for him to go solo, he had to wait until 1985 to do it, because he would have lost his 1/4 share in Kiss, like merchandise and selling records and stuff like that, if he went solo before that. There was something in his contract or something with Kiss. So that was interesting. There's a song on here called Dolls. That song is fucking weird. I just wanted to mention that. It's skippable. It's a weird ass song. I was talking about how Ace kept with the formula on that song. He went way off the formula, and I don't even know what that song is, but it's a weird song. But Frehley's Comet is a decent record from post-Kiss Ace Frehley. Now this record, it's one of my favorite pop records that I own. Keep talking about pop records. This is Belinda Carlisle, Heaven on Earth. Came out October 5th, 1987. This is her second release. I really, really like this record. Heaven on Earth is such a great song. Belinda Carlisle is awesome. Obviously, the singer from the Go-Go's. This is her solo stuff. She went pop from there. This is also an MCA rainbow label. The significance of this record more recently for me is there's I don't know if you watched the Netflix show called Black Mirror. There's an episode on Black Mirror called San Junipero. And it is one of my favorite episodes of television of all time. And it's a bold statement, but it is true to me. I love that episode. I think it's fantastic. It's one of the few Black Mirror episodes that doesn't have a complete downer of an ending. That's kind of a spoiler, but not really, because you really root for the characters in that episode. And Heaven on Earth, that song plays a key. It plays in the very beginning of the episode, and it plays at the very end of the episode. And the lyrics and everything of that song fit that episode perfectly. It is a fantastic episode. I bawl my eyes out every time I see it. I cry like a baby. I think it's just fabulous. But and that episode has a throwback, like an 80s throwback to it. It actually goes through different time periods as well. It hits the 90s a little bit as well, but mostly the 80s. And yeah, there's a playlist out there for that episode that's really good. A lot of hits from the 80s. And yeah, and also this is just a fantastic record on its own. Heaven's Place on Earth, Circle in the Sand, I Feel Free, Should I Let You In, World Without You. The whole side one is all hits. Side two is a little bit weaker, but it has I Get Weak on it, which is really good. And then the rest of the songs are just okay, but still fantastic record from Belinda Carlisle. Heaven is Place on Earth. Check out that episode. If you do watch it, let me know. It's just a fabulous episode of Black Mirror. I think it's season 3, episode 4, San Junipero. Watch that episode. It's great. It's great. Almost done. Another pop record. A lot of pop records. I bought hardly any metal in the month of June. And this is all used. I didn't buy anything new. I didn't buy one new record. This album came out October 30th, 1987. It's the first solo studio album from George Michael, and it's Faith. This is a great record. I just listened to it last night before I made this video. It's a really good record. It has a couple inner sleeves here, which is interesting. It has like a picture with the lyric sheet. But then it also has an inner sleeve for the record with a picture, which is kind of cool. This was out on the Columbia Red. It's one of early press, I guess. Really great record. This record sold, 25 million copies, so don't pay a lot for this record because there's 25 million of them out there. And probably a lot of them, probably the majority of that 25 million was vinyl back in 87. The other half would have been cassette and some CD. 25 million copies, won Grammys, tons of Grammys in 1989, was on the top of the black charts of that time, the Billboard black R&B charts. I think it was R&B. Yeah, I mean, like, George Michael crossed, over into that, and, with this album, and it's really, really good. And he was really proud of that. He says in interviews, he thought that was pretty cool that, that happened. So it's a good record. Has Faith on it, Father Figure, has the I Want Your Sex trilogy, has One More Try, and then has Monkey on side 2. Really good pop record. Has a lot of different influences, actually. There's a lot of R&B in here. There's some jazzy stuff in here. Faith is kind of like a little rock tune that's with an acoustic guitar, and then I Want Your Sex, just pure R&B, lots of bass in that as well. Great record, George Michael, Faith. Can't go wrong with that if you're a pop fan. The next record came out August 31st, 1988. This is the first studio album from Vixen, back into the hard rock or the glam rock. August 31st, 1988. Vixen is great. I really like this record. These guys were in the Decline of the Western Civilization Part 2, the Metal Years movie. They interviewed, I think, Roxy and the lead singer Janet were both these guys right here. They were, I think, the bass player too. Cher was interviewed. I don't think Jan was. And R.I.P. Jan. She passed away of cancer not too long ago, a few years ago. That's unfortunate because she was a great guitar player. And this is a good record. This record is, now Vixen did not write a lot of songs on this album. They contributed a little bit, but the main hit on here, this is on the EMI Manhattan. The main hit on here, Edge of a Broken Heart, was written by Richard Marx, of all people. And he's actually in the video for the song. If you watched it on MTV before, you can watch it now on YouTube. And there was a lot of writers that came in on this album, but still it has a hard rock feel, 80s glam rock feel. It's still really good. Good record from Vixen. If you see this in the wild, pick it up. It's a good pop metal, glam metal record from an all-female band, which was rare, to say the least, unfortunately, really, because, if there was a lot more bands like this, I really wish it was almost 50-50, because a lot of the misogyny would have been more problematic for bands to do. And it's part of the glam rock metal scene that, we kind of have to reckon with now, being in a Me Too era, or just recognizing, how disgusting sometimes, the lyrics and the things that happened in the 80s, were for the glam rock scene or the glam metal scene. But a lot of people were willing participants. It wasn't like, everybody was being, forced to do things they didn't want to. And, I'm not saying we can't listen to this music anymore, because obviously I have a bunch of it myself, and I do still like it. It's just, you kind of do have to think about, time and place type of thing, but also reflect, hey, we don't want to repeat. We don't want to have a music scene that exactly replicates, the misogynistic attitudes that, a lot of those bands had, and some of the crazy fucked up shit that happened during that time period. We can still have the music without that part, take that part out. And that's just such a small part, really. But it is something that we should talk about as fans, with a disclaimer, and then talk about the bands we love, because that's the way it should be. But in Sweden right now, there's a glam metal scene there that is huge. There's tons of bands coming out of there, and they still sing about the women, they still sing about sex, they still sing about all that shit, but it feels like it's in a better place. Whether it is or not, I don't know. I'm not researching every band to make sure that they're not doing anything wrong or whatever, but I think it's a more healthy, I would say, scene. But yeah, I still love the 80s glam metal scene. I read the book recently, Nothing But a Good Time. I really, really enjoyed that book. I highly recommend that. It's an oral history too, so it's not just a person, with their take on the glam metal scene of the 80s. It's from the artists themselves, people who were there. It's all interview dialogue, but it's all edited in a timeline way to make it, make more sense. But they'll talk to somebody about Guns N' Roses, but then they'll have interviews from like 10 different bands about that time period of Guns N' Roses or something, and all those quotes will be in there. So it's really the narrators aren't coming in and having their take. It's all from the bands themselves and the artists that were there, which is really, really cool. It's a more honest, probably the most honest, from memory wise anyway, and what they really want to tell the truth about. But it's probably the most honest way to do a biography like that, or a genre take. But anyway, the next album came out September 19th, 1989, and we already looked at the first studio album, and I consider it the first, and this is the second studio album from Janet Jackson. This is Rhythm Nation, 1814. Janet Jackson got extremely political on this record, rightly so. She started educating herself, and really, really came forward in a way that politicized her music, but still had fun. And I think a lot of people learned a lot about the struggle of, Black people in the United States, listening to this album and educating themselves on it. A lot of white people, I'm sure, bought this album, was like, what the heck's 1814? Had to look it up, had to figure it out, and like, oh, this is important, this is amazing. And, I think artists that do stuff like this, like Janet did, putting stuff out there that people may not know about, or that's important to them politically wise, I think is really important. Especially if you're on the right side of history, obviously everybody has different political ideas and stuff like that, but when you do look back, there are rights and wrongs, so I think with perspective we can look at different things in history, political things, and say, okay, look, these people, they were not on the right side of history, these people were. That's just my opinion anyway. But I think that an album like this that sheds a light on the struggle of Black people in the 80s especially, and just poor people, not even necessarily just Black people, but poor people as well. There's a lot of clips and stuff like that from the news between songs that kind of talk about the late 80s, what was going on. And Unfortunately, a lot of those clips you can rip them out of the 2022, headlines and stuff like that. We haven't had enough change, in my opinion, towards righting some of these wrongs. But yeah, as music, this album is fantastic. I would say almost every song on here is a hit. They're all good. The Rhythm Nation song, State of the World is great. The Knowledge, Miss You Much. And it's interesting because there's a lot of songs on here, like there's heavy political songs on here, and then there's a song called Miss You Much, where it's like just a love song, I miss my boyfriend or whatever. So that's kind of cool, I like that it has that playfulness, where it can get really serious and then it can pull back. And that's important too, we don't, nobody wants to just be preached to, and everybody needs to be entertained. Everybody needs entertainment. Every single person in the world needs to be entertained. So I don't feel bad about being entertained by this record, as well as learning from it. So yeah, great album. I love Janet Jackson. I like these two albums in particular. I'm not familiar with much of her older stuff. I don't really get into the R&B type stuff, more so than I really like just that 80s pop sound and 80s R&B. It's different than kind of the stuff that's coming out now. But yeah, I still love this record. Janet Jackson's great. This is all on one vinyl, which there's a ton of music on here. There's at least 60 minutes of music on here, but it still sounds really good. And I'm glad I got at least an early press, maybe not an original, but an early press. All right, the last record here, it came out March 24th, 2015. It's the 8th studio album from Hayden. Now, I love Hayden. This is Hey Love. This may not be one of his best records, but there's still really good songs on here. Hayden is just he's kind of like a folk artist. He plays guitar, like acoustic guitar. He plays it in a unique way, though. He plays it really heavy. It's kind of unique. I don't have too many artists that I listen to that play the acoustic guitar the way he kind of does. But he plays it very heavy. On this one, it's more acoustic than it is heavy, but on previous albums, because he almost has a distortion on it, kind of. But yeah, his lyrics are really what makes this record a really interesting to listen to. He put this out on his own record label, I believe, Arts and Crafts. I think that's his. I'm not sure. It may not be, but this is the last album that he did, I think, and it kind of sucks because I really wish he would do more stuff, or at minimum reissue his other stuff on vinyl, because I would buy all of it. Every single Hayden record is good, in my opinion. I've listened to all of them. Everything I Long For was his first one, and like I said, it's the storytelling that he does. He has a really cute song in here about what I think is his daughter, and it's about her birthday party and about what he wants, how he ends up giving her like some drums to play or something while they write a song together. It's just really cute. I mean, there's tons of songs on here like that. He has songs about on other records about a guy who lost his wife in a skating accident or whatever, and it's like there's just these little stories that he tells, and that's what's really fascinating about this record. The songs have melodies and stuff, so they are memorable, but it would probably take a few listens for them to really start sticking. But other than that, just listening to the lyrics for these and kind of getting invested in the stories that he's telling, that makes Hayden's records really fun to listen to. And yeah, all right, so that's it. That's all I got for June. It's almost an hour, which I think is fine. I like watching. I actually enjoy watching long videos where people just talk about their collection and give little tidbits on albums, because I don't know every single album out there. So when people talk about their collection and stuff like that, and they point out a record and they say, "Oh, this record is really cool," and they tell me why, I think that's really cool. I am more likely to check out that band and that album or songs from that than if I were just to kind of look up and find it on my own, I guess, and not know anything about it. So I hope this helps people find something new, maybe. And hopefully I'm not too boring. But anyway, if I am, yeah, whatever. I'm just kind of doing this for fun anyway. But I created a playlist that you can click on, and you can link to Spotify. It has one song from every single one of these albums to give you just a taste of, you know, what's on there if you haven't heard it before. Obviously, a lot of people in the vinyl community know these records, especially if you're, you know, either buying 80s pop rock or 80s pop music, 70s hard rock music, 70s prog music. You know, if you're into any of these genres, or you buy all of those genres, I'm sure a lot of people have these records already. But it is kind of cool to hear people talk about them. And that's it, I think. And thank you again, MegaJeff, for recommending my channel to people and telling them that I make long videos because it is true. All right, see ya.